Dragon Age Veilguard. Is this game as bad as Steam reviews lead you to believe? Well, yes and no. But I'd like to share my own experiences with Veilguard, and why I came to like this game, even if it took about 20 hours for me to start enjoying it. First, let me mention that this is my first complete Dragon Age game out of its entire franchise, which will weigh in on my opinion of this game. I did attempt to play Inquisition, but I just couldn't. 3 different attempts to start it, to no avail, even after some hours invested. You might ask, why was I able to push through with Veilguard? That's what I'd like to explain in my glorified Steam review. Let's get into it. In Dragon Age Veilguard, you enter the world of Thedas, a vibrant land brimming with labyrinths, glittering cities, and breathtaking landscapes. However, a pair of corrupt ancient gods have broken free from centuries of imprisonment and are hell-bent on rebuilding the world with blood. Rise as Rook, and make choices that will determine the outcome of this epic tale. Along this journey, you will lead a team of 7 companions, each with their own rich story to discover and shape. Together, you will become the Veilguard. Let's get into the world of Veilguard. The world never felt like a chore to explore. I had a lot of fun running around new areas and interacting with the environment. Complemented with beautiful scenery and no wasted space, I found myself in love with this world and what it had to offer. There were slight Metroidvania elements, but that's only a slight annoyance, since I didn't mind coming back to revisit these areas. My only real complaint is that the map was pretty hard to read at times. I had to rely more on my own memory of the areas rather than using the map to reach objectives, which isn't exactly the biggest issue, so not a huge drawback. Overall, the world and exploring it is a nice 4 out of 5. Now, onto the combat. The combat starts off amazing, and then slowly dwindles into repetitive combos while hitting the same 2 buttons and occasionally dodging. I heard warnings about playing this game on its hardest difficulty, Nightmare, claiming that this difficulty isn't actually hard, but rather enemies simply become health sponges. I chose not to believe this and put it on that difficulty anyways. Man, I wish I had listened, as most boss fights were much longer than they needed to be. Many encounters were drawn out, and considering that not many of them offered any real challenge, it became a bit of a slog. I mean, just take a look at this riveting combat. So if you do pick up Veilguard, I strongly recommend not playing on Nightmare difficulty. I chose to take on the role of a Spellblade, which made me think I might have chose a boring class. But after taking a look at the other 2 classes, Warrior and Rogue, not much changed, just about the same. Now, what slightly redeemed the combat in this game for me was its skill tree and items found throughout the world that allow you to change how you approach fights. I enjoyed the little bit of strategy in this, although it was annoying having to view enemies prior to being in combat, as you're not allowed to adjust your weapons and items accordingly. Did you happen to stroll into an encounter where they are resistant to necrotic but you're rocking a full necrotic build and team? Well, that aside, I also enjoyed managing my companions' equipment, spells, and even their skill trees. Of course, with Nightmare difficulty, I had to be constantly putting out the most DPS just to make sure that the fights feel reasonable, and the companion system definitely allowed for that. With all of that being said, I'd say the combat overall is about a 3 out of 5. The dialogue in Veilguard is, well,
let's just be ready.
Lackluster to say the least. The voice acting isn't really that interesting, and there were a few times where I felt moved by the voice acting of anyone in the game. Most times, it kind of felt like the dialogue was a little bit out of place as well. For a world that was under threat of being completely blighted, I rarely felt that from most of the characters in the game. Not saying that everyone needs to be depressed, but maybe a little bit of concern and a sense of urgency. I also found the dialogue to be a little bit corny, but I mean, most games have that, so that doesn't bother me too much. But what really ruined it for me is how much the dialogue hands-holds you throughout the game. The constant mention of Elganon and Gillenane, just in case we forgot who we're fighting, constant reminders of my companions and their issues throughout the story. It's like they expected people were playing Veilguard while scrolling through TikTok. so they sprinkle in reminders every other interaction. And it's a shame, because if this wasn't so prevalent, I'd have enjoyed it much more. That leads me to give the dialogue in Veilguard a 2 out of 5. With all of that being said, Veilguard gets a solid 3 out of 5 from me. I do think this game received a bit more backlash than it deserved, but again, I'm not a returning fan of this franchise, which probably makes this game not seem so bad to me. It has no real replayability for me, aside from getting to romance Bellara all over again. But yeah, if I wanted to see any alternate endings or paths that I didn't see because I made different decisions, I just watched them on YouTube. And that's all I got. For future reviews, I intend to upload gameplay of it in episodes, finishing off with a review at the end. I didn't do it with Veilguard, but I do intend to start doing that with upcoming games that I play, which the next one will be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Thank you for watching, and look forward to the next upload.